We walk amongst ghosts every day, be it sights of war and strife, or poverty and horror. The twisting, snaking paths are beautiful, but can lead us to some things undiscovered and terrifying. From the Mississippi Delta to the jungles of the Far East, the dead demand to be acknowledged. This is what we do here. Welcome to the House of Asher. And good morning. It is a early morning here at this time of my recording of this particular episode of House of Asher. I should probably say I am Steve Asher, your humble host. Welcome. You are most likely hearing this on some of the multitudes of podcast streaming services, everything from iHeart to Spotify to Spreaker and whatnot. Now, you may be watching this / listening to this on YouTube at my channel House of Asher. Stick around because there will be some interesting changes coming up, and I'll talk about that on a later episode. But do check out my name. It's all lowercase and together, steveasher.studio. This will take you to my main website, which covers everything from my books, appearances, things of that nature, the podcast, obviously, and some different things I'm looking to get into. You know, I like to keep my hands in stuff. Always been a messy kid, you know. So anyway, what I want to talk to you about this morning is a little place called Octagon Hall. Octagon Hall is located in Simpson County, Kentucky, specifically in Franklin, Kentucky. And as you would assume, this structure is, octagon shaped, hence its name. And it's been featured on a lot of different stuff. It's people that's called it one of the most haunted places in the South. It has a lot of associations with the Caldwell family. The Confederate Union armies both stayed there, died there. There were slaves on the property. So there's a lot of different kind of nefarious things, obviously, that happens there, which is not always the sign of a haunting, but it don't hurt any. You know what I'm saying? And as I understand, it's been featured on everything. Most terrifying places on earth, ghost hunters, haunted collector, wraith chasers, haunted discoveries, Nick Ross death walkers. I could go on and on. Which I had heard about it initially from KET, because I'm one of them alerted types, you know what I'm saying? And this time of year, KET would bring a lot of interesting stuff that touches on folklore, which is, that's my jams. That's where I live, I love folklore, I love old hauntings, I love urban legends and whatnot. And, you can actually contact these people if you are interested in doing a investigation. Now, they don't do overnights, but they seem like they run a pretty tight ship, and it seems like it's that kind of thing. I should probably say they only offer overnights, like, to very seasoned, at least 2 years in the game. And just because there's stuff in there that they don't want to have broken, they don't give it to individuals, thrill seekers, and whatnot. Now, they do have novice ghost hunts and stuff like that, but they, again, this is a historical site, guys, and you can't just go tromping through and wrecking the place, drilling holes to put up cameras and whatnot. That's hecka no bueno, you know what I'm saying? But I've had friends that went there. I've seen some pretty gnarly looking pictures, anything from you only could call them kind of wraith-like looking figures. You have very milky, ghostly looking people. The classic, women with their hair up coming through, kind of matronly looking, ladies of the house and whatnot. And I'm talking, this has been seen on television as well. So that's something that comes off, I mean, it gives it a little bit more validity and whatnot. But it's one of these things where, excuse me, I think the kind of call, their claim to fame really ties in with, it was during the time when there was Fort Henry, Fort Donaldson, okay, which is in the area. Well, when the fall of those different forts happened, I believe this is around 1862, if memory serves, the Confederate forces ended up evacuated their strongholds in Bowling Green and it ended up winding up taking refuge at Octagon Hall. Now, understand, this was not like a small little ragtag group of guys. This is probably 8,000 to 10,000 Confederate soldiers camped there on the grounds, and it was actually February 13th before they ended up retreating into Tennessee the following morning. Now, the thing about that is, of course, there's a lot of stuff that pops off. So it makes sense and all, obviously, but you want to go into anything like that with a certain bit of resignation. I think that all in all, it's a pretty interesting place. I know there's a lot of folklore in and around the location as well. Everything from, hauntings of local homes, pubs, and whatnot, or former pubs. See, that's what you got to remember too. Here in the South, we repurpose everything, and a lot of times, some sort of state house or very nice Confederate house might have had lives as a plantation, possibly as a school or a finishing school for young women. It's interesting. It's very layered. I mean, that's not unheard of anyway in a lot of places. Look at a lot of churches and things like that. They were built on the property of something else or some other faith. That goes all the way back to biblical times. But the thing I like about this area is that, hey, first of all, the people who own it have found an interesting way to facilitate people being able to use it, being able to cover their upkeep, which is, you got to consider, especially have an aging edifice, it's going to need constant touch-ups and things like that. It's the nature of it. So I love the fact that right now they seem very open to people wanting to investigate and willing to let researchers come in and do their thing, which again helps everybody out, especially if it's a legitimate research team with true research, not sensationalism at the heart of it. Now, I have heard stories of cavalry horses. I've heard people talk about the sounds of trumpets, like doing reveille. Heard clashing of swords. Black powder or whatever shots going off. Which would make sense along the time of where most of the more volatile dark elements happen. Now, I would be very curious to hear from you guys if you've had any experiences there. So if you are listening on some of the different podcast providers, do make your way over to YouTube and do look me up under House of Asher. Also, you can look at my name, Steve Asher, or Stevie Asher, which is what I publish under. And if you should be able to find this particular episode and give me your thoughts. Maybe you grew up around there. Maybe you have a lifetime of stories. Maybe you visited. Maybe you had somebody who worked there on the grounds and experienced things. I've heard a lot of that. It seems like when you start messing with what they knew, they don't like it. Which is interesting because you'll have places where you'll have a ghost walking through a wall. Why do they keep walking through the wall? Well, 100 years ago there was there wasn't a wall there. Or maybe there was a doorway there that got closed up for whatever reason. They're still running on ghost time or their reality time. And after all, if these are human spirits, which obviously come from humans, we all are creatures of habit. That is sort of, we're dogmatic. We really tend to like structure. We like square corners. We like to have order. And I would assume even in the world of the spirits, it would probably be that way, if that's what you've known. If you've walked around in a three-dimensional world and you're suddenly in, well, who knows what dimension that is. It's like an old cop or somebody like that. Somebody who's been used to getting up, going to the barn and milking their cows at 4 a.m. Well, they retired that down. They passed it down to their kids to handle. But you know what? They're still probably going to get up at 4 a.m. They're still going to probably have that cup of coffee and look out the window. Once it's kind of bred into you, once it's in your bones, that's who you are. Just, it is how it is. And most of the time, no one quite ever loses that. So, again, Octagon Hall, Simpson County, Kentucky, Franklin, Kentucky specifically. Check it out. I would love to see images. I would love to see all that. Feel free to contact me through YouTube. I would love to hear what you got to say. Definitely interested in hearing more about it. And just, it's one of the little jewels in my neck of the woods of Kentucky that I'm very proud to call haunted home. Now, as the sun comes out this morning, I want you to go out there and enjoy all that lovely cooling weather as we're going into fall. But as the sun sets behind the pines and the shadows grow long, do make sure to look down your back hallway, look under your bed, look out into that back field beyond your storage building. You never know, you might encounter a group of Confederates still trying to find their way home. But it's okay. Don't be afraid, because there is fear in learning. Make sure that you take it as just that, a learning experience. I love you all. Again, steveasher.studio. Look me up. And until next time, my friends, stay scared.